So y'all know that SMS and A2P campaign registrations through high level and all that sort of stuff, if you're trying to start making money and getting some clients using high level, is an absolute nightmare. I've made loads of content on my channel in the past, and unfortunately, I post a video and then 3 or 4 months later, something changes. Regulations get updated, high level changes the way approvals work, something changes. And today I want to present to you a third party that I think will be a great solution for the long term. Their name is Signal House, and I mentioned them in my previous videos that they were coming out with a GoHighLevel integration. They actually have guaranteed 48-hour approvals, and they were willing to hop on a webinar with my school community, with all of my high-level affiliates, and answer all of our questions and give us a demo of the new tool. It's an action-packed episode, lots of great questions at the end, and an awesome demo in the beginning. Hope you enjoy. Well, everybody, thank you so much for hopping on this call today. I am really excited to have Will and Jason and the Signal House people on here tonight. It's something that's kind of been in the works for a while. I think Will and I talked probably 3 or 4 months ago, a
Yeah.
while ago. And I know that this is I know that this hits a pain point. If I'd probably say that in the community and then on our coaching calls, SMS, A2P registration, getting all that stuff set up is by far the number one hiccup and question we get asked all the time. And so, um, you know, I'm not the expert. Y'all know I'm the first person to tell y'all I don't know, and don't listen to me. Like people smarter than me can figure it out. And when I say people are smarter than me, have the right answer, these are the people that are smarter than me, right? So this is Will and Jason, much smarter than me, especially when it comes to that stuff. So they're going to give us a little demo, talk to us about their tool, and then at the very end, we'll open it up to some Q&A. And we'll just rattle off. If you want to go, if you have questions in the meantime, we can go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll just kind of keep a log in my head of who to get to later. And yeah, we're at almost 50 people here, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to Will and Jason.
Dude, Clay, thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate you having us on. Really appreciate everything you've done for us. Obviously, you've sent quite a few people our way, and we're excited to take care of them. But I think it would make sense to start out with the backstory of how Signal House came together, just so everyone can understand, because it's a very nuanced space. It's a very complicated space. There's not a lot of transparency into the telecom industry. And and we kind of fell into it, right? And just give you some background. So, um, so Will and I, before Signal House, we had a company called Bonzo, and Bonzo was a mortgage CRM. Uh, really high throughput SMS. Think of like, going after leads for real estate and mortgage. We were sending about 50 million texts every single month. So we founded this company back in 2018, and this is when Twilio still was kind of like out of its ecosystem. They're starting to get some pickup, and they were really the only ones out there in the market. I mean, like you would Google like business SMS, the only thing that would come up with Twilio, and really they were. I mean, they were foundationally the only avenue for that. And so as we grew again, we were doing 50 million texts every single month, and we started to see the pitfalls of Twilio and the frustration with it, and just through falling into it, we had to become telecom experts, understanding the rules, the regulations, the inputs, the filters, why they filter, what is their end goal of filtering content. And so through all of that, we obviously figured out like how they play the game, because again, it's almost like closed doors. I mean, like you really did not have any visibility, transparency into this industry whatsoever. And through all of this, we figured out a lot of things. And again, I'm not one to talk negatively about other companies, but they're publicly traded, and I can, throw some shame onto them because they've really screwed up a lot of our businesses. They almost screwed up my business, before we were acquired a couple of years ago. And what we found is that they don't like marketers. And I say that because they look for what's called white traffic. White traffic is, think of like getting your alert on DoorDash, your food's getting delivered. They don't like conversational content either. The reason for that is that a lot of these aggregators, they're looking to get, especially publicly traded aggregators, they're looking to get what's called their direct connect. They want to get the direct connect to the carriers. So this way their margins go way down, they make more money, investors are happy, blah, blah, blah. And so we found out that they were filtering up to 60% of the text messages that were flowing through our CRM at the time. 60%. Now, their endpoints were not giving us those details. So when you see a sent and delivered, that means completely different things to Twilio. That means that they've just sent it up to upstream, but they're also filtering it at the same time. So your endpoints will tell you that it was sent. In reality, it really wasn't sent to anybody. They filtered it out before it even got delivered to the end user, which is the consumer. And so our customers were obviously paying for those text messages. They were upset that their response rates were down. Why are my response rates down week over week over week? Well, it's because they're throwing traffic. And so we learned out we learned the hard way of how to deal with the carriers. Ultimately, we decided to go, we had enough traffic on the platform to go directly to what's called the DCAs, which is what Twilio uses to send their traffic. So we were basically became the same thing as a Twilio as a CRM, but we went directly to DCAs. And this is, and I always said, Will and I both said, the day that our company gets acquired, we're starting a Twilio competitor that has transparency on the forefront. Everybody should know and understand what this industry is about because it's been locked down and transparency has not been part of it. There's only a few competitors in the space and they like to keep everything closed doors. And so the day that our company was acquired back in 2023, July, literally 2 years ago, the next day we started Signal House with transparency at the forefront. And to give everybody that what that looks like is you can ask us any question. What does it mean when it takes 2 weeks to get my campaign approved? Why does it take that long? What is a DCA? What do they do? What's their connection to the carriers? How do the carriers treat us, the aggregators, and how do they look like how do they look like the customers of the aggregators? All this stuff matters because at the end of the day, you're spending a lot of money on your texting, right? Everybody does. You're spending a lot of frustration trying to get your campaigns approved, your brands approved. Why do they keep changing the regulation around it? Why do they change something changes every single quarter, it seems, that there's a new rule in place and no one knows about it. And so for us, thankfully, like we spend a lot of time in the telecom space. We know the changes, and it's our job. And this is crazy to say, but we're the only company that actually talks about this openly. And I don't know why, because everyone deserves transparency when it comes down to telecom and how to do it the right way. So when we started building Signal House, the first thing that we thought of is how do we bring ease of use to 10DLC to A2P, right? Because that's the backbone of our business. If our messages aren't getting delivered, we're not getting responses, we're not getting opportunities. Conversations are the backbone of our opportunities, and conversations build trust. And the byproduct of that is more sales. And so when we built this, well, obviously we have a platform for Signal House, but we looked at the other markets, right? We wanted to build a marketing friendly CPaaS solution. And yes, there's more risk involved, but as long as we're in close communication with the DCAs and carriers, everyone's going to be in a safe space. We're not looking for a direct connect. We're looking to serve the marketers out there that are trying to get their conversations started via text and build it with transparency. So that's exactly what we did when it's funny because we built our platform and we get a lot of requests for GoHighLevel and because they're using Twilio and we looked at this as an opportunity to say, how do we bring transparency to the GoHighLevel environment? And so that's exactly what we did is we want to make this easy for users of GoHighLevel or really any platform, but those in the GoHighLevel ecosystem to make sure they get their campaigns approved, not have to be scientists of data to be able to get those campaigns approved, not have to be banging their head up against the table because for whatever reason, their brand keeps getting rejected and there's no explanation for it, right? They don't give you the explanation of why it's being rejected. You have to go to ChatGPT to figure it out. It's funny I'm saying that, by the way, because it used to be Google like a year ago. But now you're going to ChatGPT to figure it out, right? So that's what we built. Will, my co-founder, he really is the telecom expert. I mean, this guy knows this. I mean, he ran telecom for my other company, Bonzo, and now he runs all the intricacies of Signal House today. So, and I encourage everybody to go check out our YouTube channel because Will does a phenomenal job talking about these things and educating users around, what questions do you have? And this is an open book policy. So anybody has questions that's part of Clay's group, please ask us because we don't hold anything back. If you know anything about the telecom industry and regulation, ask us. We're happy to talk about it. And if you have topics for other videos that we could put out, ask us. We're happy to do that as well. Again, I want to thank Clay and for having us on and really being a partner through this. But I want to show the dashboard. I want to show the ease of use of what we have here because again, we want to bring transparency to the forefront. We don't want you to be searching for answers while you're looking for why messages got failed. What was the reason? We're trying to bring this to the forefront. So we do have an app now for GoHighLevel. We do keep that private for now because we do want to vet certain companies, but it's easy. We just send you the link. You download it from the GoHighLevel marketplace. You download it, and you'll immediately have access to this. The cool thing about this too is that we bring support right in it. So if you have questions about your whatever telecom, frustrations or questions that you've had in the past, you could literally sign up without paying us anything. We're here to answer your questions. Okay. So it's not like you have to be a subscriber using Signal House, like that chatbot's there to answer your question. Again, we want to bring transparency because again, transparency ultimately builds trust. We're all salespeople on this. If we can be transparent of what we're offering, we're ultimately going to build trust. And we take the give mentality instead of just like, hey, we want to take your money and then we'll answer your questions. We're an open book, we're transparent. Ask your questions, our team's here to help. So when you log in to Signal House, you're going to see a dashboard. Obviously, you can see your delivery rates of all your campaigns, campaign status. This gives you really like a high level glance of what your performance looks like. But then you can deep dive into analytics. Like, again, we want to show you why your messages have failed. So I can click into failed. It's a dynamic button there. And I can see what messages failed and for what reason, right? I can see what carriers are failing as well and what percentage of those messages. This is important logistics to know as a marketer to go, hey, client, ABC roofer, a lot of your clients have landlines or VoIP numbers. Let's go find their cell phone numbers because we're running an audit and we're seeing that 20% of your messages are failing because of landlines. These are all like really great conversations to bring to your clients as you have now visibility into the data. You also have what's called SaaS plans. So this is your way of making a margin on the messages, not only the messages, but the campaigns, the brands, everything that's associated with telecom registration. So you can literally set up a margin plan for your sub accounts under your agency. So if you want to make a 25% margin on everything, not just your SMS or MMS, but even the campaign submissions, the brand submissions, the recurring campaign fees, you can do that within our system. And again, if you want to make like overall 25%, yes, but if you want to say, hey, you know what? I want to make $25 on campaign submissions, an extra $10 on that, then you can do that. So what we do is we just pass whatever the carrier fee is. We're not making a margin on that. Signal House isn't, but you can. We do that so you can make a margin on it. So a campaign submission, $15. If anybody tells you it's $25, they're making a margin on it. Brand submission, $4. And of course, low volume campaigns that recurring, which most of you would probably need, is $1.50. Again, you can make higher margins on that, but knowing that you can now do that makes it a lot easier. We have different plans. So depending on your volume of your sub accounts, this is how you select your plan for your sub accounts. As you drive in more volume, your price per segment decreases. Okay. So you can see here at $50 a month, you get 5,000 messages that's distributed down to all of your sub accounts. Okay. This isn't just like a plan for each one of your sub accounts. This is for your whole business. Okay. So $50, 5,000 messages all the way down or all the way up to 500,000 messages at $2,500 a month, and your segment fee is 0.005. Again, transparent about pricing, transparent about regulation, transparent about making sure that you get your brands and campaigns approved, which I'll dig into in a second. If you're above that, we do have custom plans available. We go all the way down to 0.004. Really just depends on your volumes. But the cool thing too is that you can always upgrade. So if you're like at this $100 mark and you're saying, I have an opportunity to drive more opportunity, therefore send more text messages, I can upgrade, drop my segment fee. And again, you can make margin on that with our SaaS plan. But what I want to dig into, which is I'm sure why Clay brought us on here, is the intricacies of brand and campaign approval. So I'm going to jump into a sub account here and show you how easy this is to do. And I want to give full kudo because again, Will is the I'm just a talking dummy. Will is the brains behind this operation. He built this because he's seen it. He lived with it with Bonzo and the pain points that we live through. And this is all built through pain points of our businesses. And so if you go to brands, I'm going to show you guys something really cool. So if I go create a brand, let's say again, the legal company name is ABC Roofing. Okay, you fill out, what type of legal organization is this? It's private profit, EIN number. We all know the rules around that. But once you put in a legal company name, you'll see this right here pop up. Need online presence. Click here. We've worked out a deal with our upstream partners that these basically get 100% approval rating. So you don't need to go to your client, ask for their website, ask for all these changes on their website, keep resubmitting the brand because it's not working. It's not, they've got their privacy policy messed up. This is 100% approval. It's bulletproof. So ABC Roofing is a roofing company in Columbus, Ohio. Okay, that's where I'm from. And then I can pick the colors of the brand. Let's say it's this color and gray. Great. I upload the logo. Let's pull up my logo here. There we go. I can crop this logo to make sure it fits correctly. Okay. Apply crop. I say I want to give Signal House permission. Save that. What's going to happen? It automatically creates a link that gets submitted for your brand and campaign approval. That's 100% bulletproof. This is what it looks like when you submit it right here. Okay. So you can see here we have the opt-in language, we have the description of the company, the terms and the privacy policy all match the business that you've submitted. Okay. So when our upstream partners look at this, they go stamp approval. Now, the beauty of this is that we have contracts with upstream providers that you have to review this in 48 hours or less. So, Will, what did we just see today? We saw about 10 campaigns get approved in under 1 day. Now, I'm not promising
Yeah.
that for everybody, but we have fast track and we obviously pay a lot of money that we don't pass that down to you guys because we want to make, we know it's a pain point. We want to deliver it. So when you submit that brand gets approved in, just a couple of minutes as long as the legal company name matches the EIN, and those are the two really most important parts, and the entity type. These three are the most important parts: legal company name, entity type, and EIN number. That's what they're looking for to get that brand approval. But we're creating that landing page for you to make sure that you get approved quickly. Once that brand is approved, you go to your campaigns and you submit that campaign based on the brand. Now, what we do here, again, we want to make it super easy for you, is you select the brand, your campaign type. Again, most of you are low volume. We can talk about standard and special. If anyone has questions about this or even additional vetting, we'll double click into that. And then you select your use cases. What I like to say, or what we like to say, is, for this group, account notification, customer care, and marketing. That covers all three buckets to make sure that you're covering all of your intentions of your messaging. Now, what you're going to see here is that we auto-populate everything for you. You don't have to fill this out. You don't have to find the privacy policy, find the T's and C's, fill out the campaign description, fill out the call to action, the sample messages. Everything is done for you. The one caveat I would just say is just make sure that the sample messages kind of match what the messages are going to be sending at the end of the day. Other than that, everything is filled out for you. So once you submit that and save it, that goes up to the campaign. You're looking at a 48-hour review and 100% approval using our landing pages. Okay. So that's what, again, we've seen so many pain points. We've talked to so many customers. Clay has been so gracious to spend time with us and help us mold this, and what he's experiencing with obviously everybody in this group. And we listened and we worked hard with the carriers to deliver this and make sure it has 100% approval. You can even buy your numbers here. So the cool thing about your numbers, you'll have them listed here if they're ready for messaging, if they're still pending. But the buy a number section, which I really love, is that you can also pick vanity numbers. Gosh, can't say that. So let's say I want to have a number that ends in 6789. I can search for numbers that end with a specific endpoint, right? So maybe you've got like, you spell out something with the numbers that create a word. You can look for that within our vanity number search, of course, area code, state, and city. We can port your numbers. So if you have a number already with Twilio, that's the number that everybody knows. You can send in a port request. We make it very easy. It's very digital. Fill out the details. You digitally sign at the bottom. We get that ported right over to you. And of course, all of the sub account analytics, message logs are all here. So again, even your sub accounts are going to see, their delivery rate, their analytics. Their click-through rate if you're using your own domains that we submit on behalf of the campaign submission. By the way, I want to cover that real quick. I want to go back to it because if you do have a link that you're using a lot of, or your sub accounts do, we can submit that as basically an embedded link. That essentially is telling the carriers, we're using this link a lot. Stop filtering my message because it has a link in it. Like, it's okay to send links as long as the link is whitelisted. A lot of people think that links are just a dead drop. That's not the case. If we submit the link with the campaign, we're telling the carriers this is the link that we're going to be sending out with the text messages. Therefore, it's approved. Okay. So anyways, I want to do a high level of our app for GoHighLevel, what this looks like, the plans, the transparency. But really the other piece of this is that we would love to answer any of your telecom questions because again, it's a locked door, and we're here to bring the transparency to the forefront for everybody within the industry. So I really appreciate everybody's time. Clay, if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Sweet. Yeah, no, that was great, guys. Guys, go ahead and start either raising your hand or posting some stuff in the chat. Looks like we already have a couple questions in here. Somebody said at some point, would someone be able to briefly show me how to attach an approved number in a campaign to a sub account? So their sub account, it is as simple as just selecting Signal House as the texting provider. Not totally. So yeah, it looks like that question from
Yeah,
GKR.
yeah, great question. So I can go ahead and tackle that. So, Jason, if you want to just go over to the campaign section. So here in your sub account, when you look at your campaigns, you're obviously going to be able to view the status of those campaigns. And I guess you're already on the campaign screen. Sorry. So when you have a campaign that is approved, so the DCA election is approved, what you'll see if you go over to the phone numbers, so go to your numbers, is that the phone number that you have assigned to that is going to show a ready status for messaging. So the only thing that you have to do to get this fully live and ready in your account is you have to set it as your default number for messaging. So that's where you see the WF and the CP on the left-hand side. Jason, if you just want to click the default settings on the right-hand side. That is where you can select a number as default for workflow. So we piggyback directly off of the existing workflows that you have within GHL. So for example, if you already have a workflow that has SMS attached to it, even if it's recognizing whether someone responds yes or whatever the case may be, and you have a workflow built off of that, this will piggyback directly off of that. The second that you click workflow and conversation, it'll set that primary for the workflow, conversation for your one-to-one, your bulk messaging, and everything else. And then there's just one more quick step. So if you want to close out of here, go to settings in the bottom left-hand corner, and then go to phone numbers, and then click advanced settings. You'll just want to make sure that Signal House is set as the default conversation provider. So after you do those two items and those two actions, you'll be fully good to go.
Sweet. Sweet. Awesome. So we got Kelsey with her hand raised. I'm gonna give people with their hand raised that are willing to speak up and turn their camera on. I'm gonna give them preferential treatment, just so anybody that wants their question answered. Kelsey, what's up?
Yeah, so first of all, I love Signal House. Text Grid was whatever, but Signal House is who I've been using, and I appreciate all the help that I've been getting so far with it. I guess my question is at first, initially, when I was setting up campaigns, there was like a glitch, I don't know on my end or not, but every time when I tried to hit save after I created the brand, um, it wouldn't let me save for some reason. I don't know if it was because it was on a private or public. but I've been having to go through that a couple of times. But I guess my question is right now, I was having clients for case studies, and one of them is not going to continue her services with me. So I've already paid for that number and to send out text messages on her behalf. Can I repurpose that number for another brand, or like what would I need to do with that?
Yeah, really good question. And so I'll mention the first part on the brand part. If you see any issues when you're submitting a brand or anything else, please reach out to our team. They are super responsive. So our response times for support right now are literally 1 minute is what our response times are. So they're very responsive. They're very quick to answer your questions, and we'll be able to work through all of that for you and help you get that ironed out. And if there is anything that's kind of an intermittent issue or whatever, our team's very quick on the tech side to fix that as well. So on the phone number piece, it's a really great question. And so yes, you absolutely are. So right now, today, you're not able to do that natively and GoHighLevel, but we have our Signal House portal where you're actually able to transfer phone numbers between different sub accounts. So via the portal, you're able to configure a number, just remove the sub account it's assigned to, assign it to a different sub account, and that number would then live in that sub account. It's also a way if you are onboarding new customers. Something that I tell people all the time as well is that if you can get their information ahead of time, or if you even want to have an onboarding campaign that you set up under your own information, you can transfer that to new sub accounts via our portal as well to make the onboarding process as seamless as possible.
That's good. Are you able to kind of demonstrate? Yeah, because I think that was
Yeah.
kind of the other part I was going to ask too, because I think Clay, you mentioned, well, not with Signal House, but I think you said you set up a dummy sub account, but not for phone numbers. So I was wondering the same thing if we could do something similar under our brand and then transfer it over to another one, so we don't have to wait all of those days for it to get approved. But it's been getting approved pretty quickly. So
Yeah, I think the dummy sub account, I was doing that when I used to do toll-free numbers and try to get them verified in advance.
yeah,
That was back in the day. That no longer works.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Will, do you want to show the portal so yeah, there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's our Signal House portal. So it's going to look very similar to our GoHighLevel application. We wanted there to be unity between both of them. What you'll notice here, first and foremost, dashboard, you're seeing all the rich analytics at your fingertips that matter. But to the specific point of transferring phone numbers, it's really, really, really easy. So you just go to numbers, your numbers, and we'll get you access to this as well, Kelsey. If you can just reach out, we will make sure that you have access to the portal. But basically, you just come in here, you would click configure, go over here, and then you would just, it looks like this number is not actually assigned anything right now. So you come over here, go to configure. Let me just do a quick refresh here. I don't know why I'm not seeing that. There we go. Okay. So you would just come in here, you would change this sub account to whatever sub account you wanted to. So I just put default subgroup, for example, click save, and it will transfer it to whatever sub account that subgroup is connected to. So, and all of these will be kind of a one-to-one visual of what is in your GoHighLevel account. So when you sign up with Signal House, the key sign up on GoHighLevel first. So we do have some people that will sign up on the portal and then they'll integrate it into GoHighLevel. And the problem with that is if you install it with a different email address, it won't be totally synced up. And so it's fine, we can fix it, but it just takes a little bit of time and we want to get you up and running as quick as possible. So yeah, all you'll need to do is just GoHighLevel, you install the application, it's going to sync all of your sub accounts over here to the portal. So with portal access, you're able to do all of that management. And so Kelsey, the question on the brand is very similar. So you would just come in here, hit this edit button, grab this drop down, and you can migrate this to any of your sub accounts within the GoHighLevel platform as well.
And you said I have both the app and this part. It's better to do it through this version instead of through Go High Level, you said?
Yes, yeah, definitely better to do the number management today through the portal. Now, I say today because we are always evolving. We're always bringing new features and functionality to GoHighLevel, and we will be providing the ability for you to do this management yourself at the agency level in the future. So it's on our immediate roadmap, and that is coming very soon. I don't have a time frame on that. Our tech team would kill me if I provided one, but it is coming soon.
Okay. Yeah, her and all of them have been very helpful and very responsive. So thank you all
Good,
for
amazing. That's
providing
great to
great
hear.
service. Thank you.
Of course.
Per- Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna go back on what I said. Sorry, Jackie, we'll get to you. But we got lots in the chat about when will you be available in Canada and talking about, outside the US and stuff like that.
Yeah, Absolutely. Great question. So Canada is something that's on our, again, immediate roadmap. So we've had a lot of requests and a lot of pull for this. And so we will be offering that very soon. We're actually going through the process now to get those numbers provisioned and added. So yeah, you can look out for that in the next month or two, I will say, just to give us some extra time to deliver. So
Sweet, sweet, perfect. We'll go to Jackie and then we'll hit another one in the chat. What's up, Jackie?
Thank you, sir. Fellas, first of all, great job. Yeah, I had a little skepticism, but you're winning me over quick. So here, if I'm looking at, and excuse if you guys mentioned this already or I missed it, I apologize. But I'm looking at like I'm using TextGrid now
mhm.
on my sub accounts. So if I go to use Signal House at some point in the future, I'm confused. Do I need to bring all those numbers over to Signal House? How does that? Can I leave some numbers in TextGrid?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's totally up to your preference. You are able to port all of those numbers from TextGrid over to Signal House. It totally is possible, and we can help you do that process. Generally, that process is going to take about a week to get those ports completed. Generally, you have to go through, unfortunately, we can't handle the entire process. We make it easy for you to submit, but TextGrid will likely, you'll have to go through them to get like a port out pin and some other information. We could guide you through that. But yeah, you can bring all those numbers over, but you also don't have to. It just totally depends on if you have a number that your customers know you as, then I would recommend porting it over. But if you don't and you are totally fine with starting with new numbers, it is just transparently quicker to start with new numbers than it is to port everything over.
Okay, follow-up question. So if I am setting up another sub account, can I set up more than one number under my brand? Can I have
Great.
more than one number under my brand?
Yeah, so the way that we are set up today is that you are able to set up as many brands, as many campaigns, and then we are only limited to what the industry rules are, which is 49 numbers on a campaign, without going through a process called number pooling, and I won't bore you with the details on that. But in general, you can have up to 49 numbers in a campaign and as many brands and campaigns in one sub account. So I know that TextGrid allows you to share numbers from a single brand across different sub accounts. We are rolling that out in the near future. We're calling it our shared campaign release. So that is something that we are in development of as we speak. It's something that's on our very immediate roadmap to get completed. But there are a couple caveats with that. And so I wanted to just briefly talk about them. One, just being transparent is one of compliance. So on the compliance side, it is per the letter of the 10DLC rules that you should have one brand that all of the phone numbers are communicating under. So if you have, ABC business and then XYZ company, those are supposed to be separate brands. Now, your mileage may vary when it comes to that, but it is something to be aware of. Now, when it comes to the other part of it, it is one of throughput. So the way that T-Mobile specifically in the US, and they have 44% of the US market, it's a little bit more congested on the coastal areas of the US, but they have 44% of the US market, and they do their throughput based on a daily limit assigned to your EIN. So if you have 15 brands or one brand with the same EIN, you're going to share that same pool of messages. So it's totally up to you whether you want to register the same brand in multiple different sub accounts. You are able to do that, but you just have to know that you are limited based on that throughput. And you can increase that through a process called
Will,
standard
will you
vetting.
talk about the just the limits there for T-Mobile, like how many and then the throughput per minute? Because I
Yeah,
think it's important, we look at that. I think that, again, I think we've been kind of taught some improper
right.
reflections or ideas of, registering multiple different companies under one specific brand and how that can, again, filter messages out. You're not aware of it, and then response rates decline. And again, like I've talked to a lot of people from Clay's group, and I always recommend, like, yes, you're doing a free trial, like put that under your sub account as you do a free trial. You don't have to get a new branded campaign as you're doing a free trial for somebody. It's good for like a limited amount of time, but you never want to put all of the businesses under there because of those limits that Will's going to explain, and the potential of it being a lot of them being filtered and you not knowing about it.
Right. Yep. So the limits, T-Mobile. So the two that we know about are T-Mobile and AT&T. Verizon, they have their own limits. They're higher than the other two. I've never hit a point of seeing T-Mobile or sorry, Verizon limits before, but it is under wraps. So I don't know what they are transparently. But AT&T and T-Mobile do it differently. So T-Mobile is going to be a daily cap that starts out at 2,000 messaging segments per day. So what is a messaging segment? Great question. It's a 160 character message, assuming you're not using an emoji or having like AI, like you're not copying and pasting directly from AI. There's some characters that will change it to 70 characters per segment. But in general, segment 160 characters, you get 2,000 of those per day with T-Mobile. Now, there is a way to increase that. We'll talk about that in a minute. AT&T is going to start out on low volume as 75 segments per minute. So if you have a low volume campaign, 75 segments per minute, 50 MMS messages per minute. So MMS is going to be messages, SMS, segments. So 75 SMS, 50 MMS. If you have a, yeah,
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
I would say if you're on a standard campaign, AT&T is going to start at 240 SMS per minute, and it's SMS segments per minute, and 150 MMS messages per minute. Now you can increase both of these on a standard campaign. Low volume is going to be locked into those numbers: 2,000 per day with T-Mobile, 75 per minute with AT&T. But if you have a standard campaign, you want to go through a process called standard vetting, you can get it all the way up to 200,000 daily segments a day with T-Mobile, 4,500 SMS segments per minute, 2,400 MMS messages per minute.
What I was
So
going to ask you, Will, is that I think a lot of us, when we're looking and building out our automation campaigns and high level, yes, it's great to leverage AI, right?
Mhm.
You can write
Yep.
some awesome scripts, but you mentioned something that I think everyone should be aware of, which we've seen it with our customers as well. They're saying, why is my segment count, 3 instead of 1? And
Right.
I know it's under 160 characters, is because AI uses M dashes or curved apostrophes, which
Yep.
turn what's called a traditional GSM7 encoding to basically a
Yep.
different type of
UCS2. Yep.
UCS2.
Yep.
Yeah, do you want to explain
Yeah.
that a little bit?
Yeah, so the big one is the apostrophe. So there's these I don't remember what they're specifically called. They're smart quotes, I think is what it's called. But anyway, if you type an apostrophe, it's not really visible to your eyeball, but to the computer it is different. So there's a set of characters, GSM7, that is what they use for encoding. We won't go too far into that. And if you copy and paste directly from AI, so if ChatGPT is writing your message, as you can see here, yeah, this is a great example of UCS2 and it's because of the apostrophe. So if you remove that apostrophe on go ahead and delete that. Oh, okay. Actually,
Oh yeah,
that's
a
not
couple
where it
here.
is.
It could be like that's the thing is like this, by the way, we'll give everybody this link because this is a great way to make sure
It
that your
is.
messages are GSM7 and not UCS2.
Mhm.
Because like you can see here, like there's some
If
weird
you
things in here that can turn that encoding very quickly. And you kind of like this M dash right here is probably part of there it is. So you see that M
Yep.
dash? Now it just went to one segment, was 3. Now it's a GSM7 because of the M dash that ChatGPT creates. So
Yep.
highly recommend if you're doing copy from, which is great, like get copy from ChatGPT or Gemini, wherever, but run it through this segment calculator. This way you think you're sending one segment, in reality you're sending 3, and you're
Yeah, real quick, Jason, can you paste in that original message again? I want to show everyone how you can identify exactly which character it is, so you don't have to hunt around for
I
it.
asked GPT to say, let's go back over here. I copied this. Let's go back over here. Where am I at? There we go. So there it is.
Okay, so if you go down to the bottom there where you see those rows, scroll over to the red ones on the yep. So those will tell you where it actually is. And if you see on the message page or message parsed section there, when he's going over the red marks, it's actually showing you exactly which ones are the offenders, so to speak. So
Hmm.
I'll paste this in the chat right now so everybody
Yeah,
has
I
it.
put the link in the chat. I put
Oh,
the link
sweet.
in the
Okay.
chat for everybody so you have it.
fellas, back to the second part of my question.
Yep.
and I think he touched on it, so I want to clarify. By the way, I'm glad you went into the 49 number thing because I see that on your YouTube channels. I see it everywhere. I understand people
Mhm.
want, and I mean, just you guys can probably speak to this. All that's probably going to get cracked down on at some point on a with a pretty big sledgehammer. I mean, Marty was
Yeah.
telling me that with text grid as well. He's like, this is all going to get cracked down. So so eventually we won't be able to do it most likely at all. But what I'm hearing you guys say, I think it's probably okay when we're onboarding a client. So, for example, getting someone's EIN number for an LLC, like that can be a lot of work for someone. They don't know what their EIN number is.
Mhm.
Some small business, registered an LLC 3 years ago. He hasn't looked back at it since. It's on his tax paperwork. But other than that, he never knows. He goes to his LLC paperwork every time he needs it, right? So,
Sure.
it is if I'm hearing you right, there's not practically speaking, I can set up an account under my campaign to get the guy started. Once we start getting him some results, then follow up later and be like, hey, we need to go ahead and get your EIN. That's not necessarily a problem for now in any way, shape, or form. And then we can just move that number over once we get it approved or whatever. Is that what I'm hearing you say? That can work?
Yes.
It's exactly right. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. And to your point, in the future, we don't know what the future holds, right? We have these AI systems. Eventually, in my personal opinion, eventually, I'm sure the carriers are going to say, here's the registered brand, here's the company mentioned in the message. If it doesn't line up, then filter it. But they don't do that today. I've only seen, I've personally had over 20,000 campaigns fully approved in my time in the telecom space. I've seen one single campaign get shut down, and it deserved to get shut down, transparently. So it's not something that you really need to worry about unless you are being a bad actor. And so this is a good segue into why what could happen to where you would get flagged or whatever the case may be. So if you are getting someone started, they're sending out review traffic to people who obviously did use their service. They're people who enjoyed using the service, and they're a high likelihood of getting a review. You're not going to get an opt out. You're not going to get someone reporting your message as junk and reporting it as spam. Those are the things that can get your number flagged or can get the campaign flagged. And enough of those happen, and then yes, you can get a carrier flag, you can get a campaign shut down. But because you are doing things the right way, because you are having conversations with people who want to have conversations with you, you are not what I would call at a high risk of that occurring.
Got it. I wanted to pop in here real quick and jump the line. Sorry, Harry, and I know there's questions in the chat too. But to be doomsday prepper and just to play it out, let's say
Mhm.
their AI stuff says, "Hey, the brand is this business," and then the message mentions this different business, right? A certain number of times. What's your first thought process on how business like software businesses or businesses that do a lot of texting, high volume texting for a lot of different businesses, what's the play there? What's the next step?
Yeah, I actually have a good answer to this. So, and
Let's
I've been thinking
go.
about this quite a bit. So,
Let's go.
let's say that your text message that you're sending out, and again, the whole thing is identifying your business name, but no one tells you what your business name has to be. So, if you are reaching out to people and you're saying, "Hey, this is so and so getting business reviews or looking for business reviews can be the name of your business. And if that's the name of your business, you're identifying your business in your message. And then you have totally gone through the clear, and you're doing it by the letter of the law, and also making sure that it doesn't confuse customers when it comes to the business name.
I love it.
Brilliant.
I'm so glad I asked.
Let me just add to that too. I mean, it's a great that's a great under the carpet way to do that. But I'll also say this is that you got to look at the telecom industry as a whole. Okay, so the DCAs, they're sending out literally billions of messages every single day. Okay,
Yeah.
and so what they're ultimately looking for are the bad actors, not
Mm,
the ones that slip up occasionally. Oh, I accidentally sent this message. It's a little bit off from my message use case. They're looking for the scammers and the spammers of the world. And they're
mm,
looking for consistency of that. So if they see high volumes of a message, for instance, there's a company in our space, it's called Telnex. They allowed robocalls. Some people offshore, use robocalls. They got approved to use robocalls to call literally members of the FCC and ask them for their passwords. And it was an automated message. They got that's big because they're actually going after the people that's monitoring this space, the FCC. And they got fined $5 million for that. But again, that's because that's extreme, right? Like that was reported. People of the FCC knew about it. They were calling their family members for passwords and employees and coworkers of these passwords. Yes, there are extremes, and that's ultimately what they're looking for. They're looking for the dark red extreme cases. Even when AI comes in and starts filtering this, they know that 20% of messages drift a bit, right? But it's not a high volume. They're looking for the high volumes and the high case sensitivity scenarios.
Yep, exactly.
Love it. Love it. Good stuff. Harry, what's up? And then we'll get somebody in the chat.
Uh, Will and Jason, it's the nature of this business model, the one that Clay's put together in his course, that we basically do two types of campaigns. The first one is what we loosely call a reactivation campaign, where we go after all the old customers. And then we do pretty much we attempt to create a real-time set of requests every time they get a new customer. I just sent a campaign out for emails for 30 years worth of emails. And obviously not everybody in that list had emails, but so that's an old list. And in the world of email, where we're trying to keep the list clean and obviously not send cold email, that's a cold list, because the people who got this is a tree contractor, the people that had a tree cut down 25 years ago, hell, half of them won't even remember who did the work, right?
Half of them are dead. I'm just kidding.
So are there any, can you give us any advice as to best practices for keeping the phone list clean, or cleaning it prior to using it, or anything? Or is it at our level, is it just something that we don't need to worry about right now? I do think we're going to have to worry about it later, because regulations always tighten up. They never get looser. Well, excuse me, present administration notwithstanding. So I think we have to anticipate that this will always tighten up. Any
Sure,
advice?
sure. Yeah, yeah, great question. So there's a couple things that you can do to keep your numbers clean. Now, first, is there a need to do it? It really comes down to volume, to be honest. And so, if you're doing low volume messaging and you're 100% certain that those numbers are real numbers that you're reaching out to, then it's really not necessary to go through that cleaning process, especially if they've given you prior express written consent to reach out to them. Then it's not something that I would be super concerned about. Now, what I would say though is that if you go through an old list of numbers, you could potentially have people that maybe it's prior to texting, or maybe it's numbers that at the time don't have text capabilities for whatever reason. The one thing that you can run into, or I would say two things. One is going to be cost. So when you're sending a message through to the carriers are going to charge when a message hits them. And so if it is a landline phone number, they're still going to try to deliver that message. And so you still get charged for that message, and we still get charged for that message. And so one thing it can do, if you run your phone numbers through a phone validator that validates whether or not it's a real phone number, that can keep costs down from sending out to landlines and VoIP numbers and numbers that aren't able to actually receive a message. So that's one thing. Now, if you're doing higher volume, or you're not 100% sure if you have, the explicit consent on this number, whatever the case may be, or it's old, that number could have been ported to a different user. The person could have stopped paying their phone bill. It could have gotten transferred to someone else. It is a good practice to run your phone numbers through a DNC and a litigation checker. And that's because this is not your fault any way, shape, or form. But if someone were to give you their phone number 10 years ago, tell you, I want you to reach out to me on this phone number, and you're going back through and doing that reactivation, but that phone number has been ported, and you're texting a number that's on the do not call list, that still technically is a violation of TCPA. And so I always still recommend run it through a DNC checker, run it through a litigation checker. That's going to make sure that you feel comfortable with it, and know kind of who you're reaching out to. So yeah, that would be my advice. Now, when it comes to deliverability, I guess one extra point is that opt-out rates are what the carriers are going to be looking at. And that's what they're going to be looking at when it comes to either applying filtration on your message, so not letting as many messages get delivered, or a carrier flag where they basically put you in timeout for a period of time where you're not able to deliver on that carrier. So what can happen if you're reaching out to, let's say you have a list of 1,000 phone numbers that you've reached out to over the past 10 years, and you're just doing a bulk reactivation. Well, understandably, you could have 100 people that just say, I'm not interested in this anymore. I was at one time, but I'm not anymore. And if that hits all at once, you now have a 10% opt-out rate on that phone number. And that can let the carriers know, ooh, I wonder if this person actually had consent to reach out to these individuals. And they might arbitrarily filter your messaging. So reactivation campaigns are amazing. Absolutely, definitely do those. They're a great way to build referrals and also continue to move forward with your business partners and your past customers. What I would recommend doing is mixing that in with some of your warm traffic so that if you do have, or like basically send 100 today, 100 next week, 100 tomorrow, whatever the case may be, so that if you do get opt-outs, that gets mixed into your existing traffic. So your opt-out rate, your overall opt-out rate is not arbitrarily increasing higher at that time.
And Will, can you explain the like where an opt-out rate could trigger some type of action from DCAs and potentially campaign shutdown?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So ideally, you want to be under 3%. That's gold standard. But I mean, we can talk gold, silver, bronze, right? So gold standard under 3%, you're never going to have an issue. If you're below 5%, you're kind of on the bubble. It's still okay, but it's not recommended to be at that level. 7%, when we get to that 7% window, that's when carriers are going to start looking at it. That's when you can expect some carriers to start filtering some of that traffic, where they don't let as many of the messages go through. They want to see how many opt-outs you get on the messages they do allow to go through. If that opt-out rate is still high, they're going to even filter more up to completely shutting down that phone number to where you're not able to send messages on that carrier. And some carriers are trigger happier than others. AT&T is going to be content. So I see links that are not whitelisted, like Jason spoke of earlier. Non-whitelisted links are going to get you flagged extremely quickly with AT&T. So always make sure you're whitelisting your links for that reason. T-Mobile is going to be more so opt-outs. So when you have a higher opt-out rate, T-Mobile is going to drop. Verizon, frankly, I generally see pretty good deliverability with Verizon across the board. So, but in general, yeah, that would be my advice. Stay below 3% if you can. 5% still okay. 7% you're really on the bubble and could potentially get filtered at that point.
And I just want to point out too, like when I showed the dashboards earlier, like you'll be able to see what percentage of your
Yeah.
users are Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, right? So you can
Yep.
be maybe a little bit more aggressive if you see 60% of your, customers are Verizon compared to T-Mobile, right? So again, like having that knowledge base and then looking in your analytics to see like how much of your messages are going to which carrier can be helpful as you look at your strategy for your business.
Right.
If you guys,
Right. Absolutely.
have that handy, could you drop your recommendations for list cleaning vendors into the chat if you have it handy now? There are a bunch of options, and I have no idea which ones are.
There's quite a bit. Again, like we're kind of Geneva, Switzerland in that sense.
Yep.
Whatever's more cost advantageous for you, because they have different pricing. They all pretty much do the same thing. I always try to look for those that have, they've been around for a bit, but still have stable pricing because you'll get price gouged for some of these bigger ones, obviously.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, they're all pretty much the same because they're all using the same database.
Right. Yep. Yep. I would just look for the cheapest option and compare prices because, like Jason said, they're all using the same database. I saw a couple questions here in the chat. So, what is whitelisting? So, we just talked about link whitelisting. So, that's just when you are putting that link in the embedded link section when you're creating a campaign. So, at the bottom of the campaign creation page, you're going to see embedded link on GoHighLevel, and that's where you're going to want to paste any links that you're going to be sending out. If you're going to be sending out more than one link, you can use those sample messages for that as well, and that can also help there.
And Will, do you think it's worth everybody getting a .com domain on that? Like, is there certain domain endings that might be more potential for spam?
It Yeah, great question. It's not necessarily the domain, it's more so the number of redirects. And so if there's a high number of redirects, it's more likely to get flagged as spam.
So
And
Bitly
so
is a good
anytime
example, right, Will?
yeah, Bitly. You can't send a Bitly link. It just won't get delivered. Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to use a link shortener, it has to be an actual registered link shortener because a lot of scammers will use a Bitly link or some kind of other link shortener, and obviously shorten a malware link or something like that, right? And so it obfuscates it. So that's going to be a redirect. But yeah, anytime we have a customer that says that a link wasn't delivered, the first thing I do is look in a redirect checker, and most of the time it's because there were 5 or 6 redirects, and it potentially, if that link is going to end in a 404 or another server error or whatever on the website, that will also make sure that it gets filtered out as well. And then I saw a thing in the chat here. When you launch in Canada, will the carrier dashboard be as dynamic as it is in the US? Great question. And the answer is yes. So there's a global carrier mapping list. There's a list for everything. And all we do is just we line up the code for the carrier with that list. And so we'll actually today, it's actually kind of funny looking at some of our data. If you are in, for example, North Dakota or Upper Wisconsin, some of these regions that are close to Canada, they really they use whatever has the better signal to actually terminate that message. So we do still see some TELUS and Rogers and the other Canadian carriers with our 10DLC US traffic as well. So and it's all visible there. So any carrier that it hits, you'll have visibility to that.
I want to speak up real quick and say thanks for you guys' dashboard. I saw someone post in, I can't remember if it was in Clay's group or I was watching one of the YouTube videos or something that someone posted. They were like, oh, my messages are going through on text grid. And I have a little enough of a background to know that no, that's probably not true.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, Signal House is just being more transparent on what's happening, and you just
Yeah.
don't know that on the other end. So I appreciate that. And that's probably going to take a little bit of education, which is what you guys are doing now. But that's incredibly valuable to us because we had no way of knowing what messages weren't getting there. And that's really important when we're trying to get people reviews, for example. So thank you guys for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess just a point on that is that yeah, there are there are carriers that will absolutely tell you, like to Jason's point, that something is sent, but they've actually just filtered it out. We provide you only the information that we get directly from the carrier. So if it says failed, it's because the carrier told us it was failed. And if it's delivered, the carrier told us it was delivered. And we don't also group all of our rejection reasons together. So Twilio will tell you that it was undelivered because it was filtered by the carriers or something like that. It's a very generic one that they provide. We have taken all of our carrier codes that we receive back and just type them out to where they don't, speak robot, so to speak. And so like we've just translated it a little bit into something that's understandable, and we pass those directly through every single time.
And I'll just say this too, like, when you let's say that you for whatever reason you're getting a high filter rate.
Hmm.
That's where you can look at Signal House as not only a provider but consultants for your business. And that's really
Yep.
what we're here to do is that you can go right into the chat and Signal House and say, why did 30% of my messages get filtered today? Right. And our team will look into it, understand why it did. We'll look at your copy. Could be something around your copy, could be something around the numbers, could be a number of different factors, but we want to be able to provide that transparency to you so you can do better the next day and know and learn from, what caused this.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, and I know people were asking about pricing stuff, and I think that it would be a great. I know pricing is obviously listed on site. You can see it on y'all's app and stuff like that. But I think it's probably great to explain it, and I think it's a
Hmm.
no-brainer. I've seen it. Obviously, I'll see all the value they're providing, how much easier they're making our lives. And so, if you want to touch on it real quick, just to set the
Yeah.
record straight.
Sure.
Absolutely. So we have different, like I said, we have different plans depending on your volume. Let me just share my message one more time here, or share my screen here. There we go. And so 20 bucks a month again, like, and this is the cool part too, is that you can download Signal House app, you can go to your wallet, put your credit card in and start submitting brands and campaigns. You don't have to immediately submit for a plan. So, and I recommend that too, especially if you have a number of brands and campaigns that you want to submit those first. And then when you're ready to start sending out messages, then pick your plan. Now, obviously, we take a high credibility to providing consultancy to your business and filling up our staff with telecom experts to answer that. So, on the lower end, you're going to see a little bit higher price point. Just being very transparent. I have the $20 a month, you get 1,250 messages. And then anything after that is 0.015 per message segment. Again, this distributes down to all of your sub accounts. This isn't just per sub account. This is distributed down to everything. As you can see, as you send more messages, your price decreases. So, at $50 a month, you get 5,000 messages. And then, of course, anything over 5,000 messages, it's a penny per text, not including carrier fees. And then, of course, at the $100, you get 14,000 messages at 0075, 150,000 messages, anything over that, 0065, and so forth. So the more you send, obviously, the cheaper it gets within those price points. And then standard like campaigns $15, brand is $4, and recurring is $1.50. Those are just pure pass-through fees, and of course, carrier fees are just pure pass-through fees.
Love it. Love it. Well, I know we're butting up against the time frame here. We've gone an hour, but really appreciate y'all hopping on. And yeah, guys, this is recorded. We will post this recording in the community, and I'll also post it on the YouTube channel. And yeah, you can. I know somebody said a lot to digest, good stuff, but I'm gonna need to go over it again. So feel free to go over it again. Yeah, Jason, Will, thank y'all for hopping on. This was great. My questions are answered, and we had almost 70 people in here for most of the time. So might have to do it again sometime.
Well, hey, thank you so
Absolutely.
much, brother. Really appreciate it. Love what you're coaching. Your business model is amazing. I've talked to a lot of the people in your group, and you're building something amazing. And we can't thank you guys enough for letting us be part of the group today and building some transparency around the telecom space. I know it's nuanced and complicated, and we're here to shed some light on it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna hit them with a lot of yeah. You should probably ask Will that. You should probably ask Signal House that. They're gonna hop on these coaching calls and be like, I'm pretty sure Signal House has great support for a reason now. Now
Yeah.
come on. Well, awesome.
Absolutely. Here to answer any questions. And yeah, thank you so much, Clay. We really appreciate it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, y'all have a marvelous rest of your Wednesday. Keep crushing it. Don't quit. And see y'all next time. Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.